We will be getting started in 2 minutes. At 7:40 p.m., the Undergraduate Senate is called to order. Speaker Pro Tem will now call the roll.
All righty. Senator Hagan. Senator Hendricks. Senator Henson. Senator Morinville. Senator Nguyen. Senator Parapali. Speaker Gary.
Here.
Senator Kim. Senator Stanton. Senator Forbes. Senator Guskowitz. Senator Jones. Senator Vernon has resigned. Senator Wilson. Senator Alexander. Senator Brandon has also resigned. Senator Grimm. Senator Mana. Senator McDermott. Senator Nandori. Senator Smith. Senator Langley. Senator Longo. Senator Aurora. I am here. Senator Jessup. Senator McClanahan.
Here.
Senator Schneider. Senator Vespute. Senator Adams. Senator Baruch. Senator Jane. Senator Leonard. Senator Pollock. Mr. Speaker, it appears we have quorum.
Seeing as we have quorum, we'll move to the next item on our agenda, the approval of the minutes. At this time, is there a motion with regards to the minutes of the previous meeting?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Hearing no objection, the minutes are adopted. We will now move into the reports of the officers of the Senate, beginning with the report of the Speaker. I only have a couple of items to report to y'all. As a reminder, the State of the University address is at our next meeting on November 7th, 7:30 p.m. here. The Chancellor will be coming and will be giving a speech on basically the items that I have requested in conjunction with the graduate and professional senior vice president he speak on. I asked him to touch on campus safety, specifically what the university is doing in the wake of the 2 incidents from earlier this summer. The graduates requested that he speak to graduate student mental health, specifically resources that they are making available to TAs. I requested, and then the other 2 items that were requested were that he speak to the university's plans with regards to moving forward after the SFFA decision and how far they are going to be taking that implementation, And there was a fourth item. I forget. I'll double check the form and tell you all that in a minute. Just remember that like the chancellor is coming. We will be taking photos and stuff. So like try to avoid coming in just t-shirts. In terms of archiving, we're now move on to the next part of that project, which is scraping the websites for old files. The old Student Congress website is available through the Internet Archive. So we're also going back through that and scraping files from there. And the last thing is at our next meeting, we will also be voting to certify election results. If you're curious as to the procedure for that, you can find that in Rule 23.11 in the standing rules. Basically, what will happen is the senators-elect will be presented to the Senate, and at that point, if you choose to object to the certification of their election and refuse to seat them, that is the time at which you are allowed to object to their election, and the Senate can decline to seat them. Yeah, that is basically how the procedure works. Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, the Speaker Pro Tem is recognized for their report.
All right. Well, I also have a very brief report. Once the election happens, I'll be working on organizing an orientation for the new senators. That's all I've got. If y'all have any questions. I will also be calling a meeting of the Real Committee soon to prepare our report, which we'll be presenting to the Senate. There are any questions, I'll take them now. If not, I yield the remainder of my time.
Are there any questions for the Speaker Pro Tem? Seeing no questions, we'll move to the report from the Finance Committee Chair.
Yes, okay, so last Tuesday and the Thursday before that, the Finance Committee met to hear funding requests for both the food insecurity cycle as well as the subsequent cycle. The majority of those appropriations are on the consent calendar, along with one that should be going on committee of the whole to correct an error that was made by the committee. That's all that we have, though, so if there are any questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, we'll move to our report from the Rules and Judiciary Committee Chair.
R&J met last week. We considered a few nominees and some legislation. 2 nominees were reported without prejudice due to absence, which they will be considered tonight. I announced this at the R&J meeting, but if you were not there, R&J will not be meeting on Halloween. Any questions?
Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, we'll move to our report from the Oversight and Advocacy Committee Chair.
Yeah, so we didn't end up meeting last week. Next week, we'll have to maybe meet a little bit more flexibly. We're going to start our meetings with the external appointments. So we're going to kind of try to find a time that works best for all of them. So it may be getting separated. So just be on the lookout for an email from me.
Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, the Ethics Chair is not present tonight. Does our Joint Governance Council member at large have a report?
There's nothing really to report. We did not meet yet last week because of fall break, but I know that this upcoming week / the next week, we're going to be approving the Board of Elections official that the graduate student has nominated, and same with a graduate student Supreme Court nominee. So, or we're going to be reviewing their nominees for that. So that's everything.
Are there any questions? Seeing no question, we'll move to our report from the members of the Commission on Campus Equality and Student Equity.
Yeah, so not too much. We have been working with 2 executive departments, the Office of State and External Affairs and the Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion on 2 projects. Again, they're in like the infancy stages, so it's not too much to share on those right now. And we're happy to discuss those collaborations later. Other than that, we're also trying to meet with a student group, these students for Asian American Studies at UNC, as we'd like to discuss the future of the Asian American Studies minor. Other than that, there's not much updates from us. We have not formally met or anything. I'm happy to take questions though.
Are there any questions? Seeing no question, we'll move to our receipts of petitions and messages, starting with our message from the student body president.
Hey everyone, hope you all are doing well. I don't have many updates today, but I hope your fall breaks were amazing. The biggest thing I just kind of want to share is that the graduate students are having a health and wellness fair tomorrow in the Great Hall, I believe, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. There's going to be like some tabling, but a yoga class from 11 a.m. to noon. There's also going to be like 10-minute massages, but I think those are filled up. But like check Hill Life because it might not be. Other than that, I had a meeting this afternoon with the president of the General Alumni Association, just about some partnerships with student government, what those will look like. And they're really interested in kind of re-evaluating their usage of the Alumni Center itself. It's like a lot of red in there, not a lot of Carolina blue. So like looking at that, which is like in-house stuff, but then also interested in having a survey. So my office will be working on that, just kind of see what somebody wants from the Alumni Association, because we're all gonna be alumni one day soon. Also, TFAT and the student fees committees, those have officially concluded. So those proposals are going to be headed towards the board of trustees next month at the November meetings. Those are early November, I think the 8th and 9th, I think. Other than that, I'm happy to take any questions if you all have any.
Are there any questions for the student body president? Seeing no questions, we'll move to our message from the USG vice president.
Hello, is that working? Okay, awesome. I have a few updates. Hey, y'all, good to see you guys. Hope you had a wonderful fall break. The Provost Advisory Committee met last week. We talked about a handful of things, and we had free lunch, which was my favorite part. Let's see, talked mostly about the budget. So the budget was approved through the North Carolina General Assembly. A few highlights for that is that the School of Civic Life and Leadership will be getting $2 million for the next 2 years. So it's a total of a $4 million allotment. The legislature also asked that a dean be named by the end of December. There's somebody currently in that position, sort of up in the air to see how long that person is going to stick around. The provost largely seemed pretty optimistic and happy with the outcome of the budget that was recently passed. My impression was that most of the things that the administration was asking for were met, at least from the perspective of the provost. Another thing that I think is just worth being aware of is the accreditation process for UNC has changed. So now there's going to be like a rotating process. Instead of always going to the same accreditor, UNC is going to have to look at different accreditors every 10 years. So we'll all be gone by the time UNC likely has to do that, but just something to be aware of, that's a pretty big change. And then the provost specifically asked for student input regarding wellness days. So I'm sure for y'all who have been here for more than 1 year, you noticed that we had like stacked wellness days right by the start of the semester. So we just want some student input on whether or not that worked, or if we should like try and disperse them a little bit more. He also highlighted that graduation will be on a Saturday this year, which is new for UNC. It's usually on a Sunday. So I don't know, I'm kind of bummed about that. Other than that, we'll be meeting with the dean on November 9th, talking about AP and IB accreditation. So keeping y'all up to date with everything there. I met with Beth Morocco, who is the faculty chair, and she's wonderful and is looking for more opportunities to engage with students. So as that develops, I'll come back to y'all. And then just looking down at the rest of this week, I'll be meeting with the chancellor's office on Thursday. So if there's anything in particular that you think our student group should talk about, please let me know at the end of this meeting. And then with the provost office on Friday to talk about student involvement in hiring for the School of Civic Life and Leadership, and then new efforts for funding for the Women's Center. I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for the USG vice president? Seeing none, the USG treasurer informed me they could not be here tonight. They have sent me this written report, which I now have to read to you. Senators, I hope you are well. I hope I find you well. I apologize for my absence from your hall this evening. I have extensive academic and personal commitments, which currently demand my attention. Over the last couple of weeks, I've had the opportunity to serve on the interview committee for the new CUSO controller and met with Amber and Hala from the business office regarding CUSO concerns. First, I am delighted to share that Erica Lee has been hired as the new CUSO controller. Ms. Lee previously served as the part-time undergraduate student government controller and excelled in that position. I am quite confident that she will ably serve as CUSO controller. During my meeting with Amber and Hala, we discussed several topics. We discussed a process for aligning the categories used by the undergraduate senate to the official university accounting categories. I will work with the finance committee chair to move that process via an amendment to the code and the spring budget resolution prior to the winter recess. We also discussed streamlining the process for Section 330 food and security exceptions, which I will be implementing via executive action and will notify the Senate of when relevant. Finally, we discussed urgent budgetary pressures on the CUSO system, which may demand an increase in the $5 constitutional allocation to CUSO. Along with representatives of the Senate, I would like to begin conversations with the GPS Senate soon regarding a constitutional amendment to increase that allocation as soon as the fall general election. I will update the Senate soon on Treasury functions related to reimbursement. I am currently behind on both communications and administrative work, and will catch up on that as soon as possible. In addition to Treasury work, the tuition and fee review process has completed. The Tuition and Fee Advisory Task Force voted to recommend an 8% increase to the Carolina Union operating fee, increases to varied graduate tuitions, and a 5% increase to non-resident undergraduate tuition. Looking forward, SFAC will proceed quickly with audits of various campus fees. We appreciate the contributions of the senators who serve on that committee. Finally, I would like to express my full and unequivocal support for the Treasury Modernization Act, USB 105-112, introduced by the Speaker of the Senate. This legislation fully addresses the previous concerns of the student body president regarding appointments while cleaning out dead letter, conforming statute to the current responsibilities of the treasurer, and ensuring in no uncertain terms the essential independence of the Treasury. I urge the Senate to pass this legislation. Please let me know if you have any questions. I ask for the time being that you'd please direct questions to lgrodsky@unc.edu. Kindly, Logan Grodsky, Treasury undergraduate student. Direct any questions to him via email. We will now move to the message from the USG Chief of Staff.
Hi, everyone. I hope that fall break has been restful. I'm sure it's been a little bit of a challenge getting back to the regular day-to-day, but I hope that you are settling in well. I don't really have any updates except around all things financial literacy and well-being. I will be attending the UNC System Financial Literacy Symposium next Thursday and Friday. And so that's going to be the second annual symposium that's happening to sort of bolster all programming within the UNC system with financial literacy and well-being. Additionally, the executive branch has finished onboarding for the semester, and we're sitting at around 115 students involved in the executive branch. That doesn't include external appointments, though. I can get that number to you once I have that to give a full amount for executive branch. We have our mid-year review, if you will, or mid-year gathering of executive branch that's planned for November 5th. It's meant to be an orientation of sorts, but just for everyone in the exec branch to come together and look at what's already been accomplished and what we're trying to still accomplish before the term is out. So excited about that. Regarding the Center for Basic Needs that I spoke about a few meetings ago, we are in the final application review process. So candidates have been invited to campus in 2 weeks. So those will be 4-hour meetings or interview processes, and we'll end with lunch at the Carolina Inn with members of myself, members of that committee, and then also the Associate Provost for Student Aid and Scholarships, Jackie Copeland, as well as the Dean of Students, Desiree Rickenberg. So that's exciting. We'll soon have a director for the Center for Basic Needs. And then after that, we'll go into planning for the grand opening of the center, which is set to happen, I want to say around March or April, but I'll get that information out to you once I have that date. But excited about all of those updates. Happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for the USG Chief of Staff? Seeing no questions, we'll move to the message from the USG Director of State and External Affairs.
Hello, everyone. I'm really leaning into this, but hello. I also have relatively low updates as usual. I did want to say, however, that I will be meeting, hopefully. I met with Andrew a few weeks ago. We had an informal-ish meeting. I'll be meeting with him again, hopefully soon, to talk about some social host ordinance stuff. Once we as an executive branch meet on Sunday, we'll be talking about social host. Aside from that, I met with Aaron Bockenheimer and Samantha Liu concerning CCC stuff. No updates from there except for combination drug use and talking about, CCC principles, as well as updates to the current alcohol use policy for UNC. If anyone has any questions about that or wanted to make any comments about policies relating to that, if you could also just, I'm here as a resource, if you could just talk to me about that. Aside from that, there's really nothing else that I am doing. So yeah, anyways, everyone, I love you and I hope you all are doing really well. Also, apparently I'm not an ONA anymore. Shout out Andrew. Thank you for letting me know. Didn't know that. Sorry. Love you guys. Bye.
Are there any questions for the USG Director of State and External Affairs? Seeing no questions, we'll move to our message from the Undergraduate Student Attorney General.
Is this working? Okay, cool. Hey, everyone. So just some administrative things we've been working on kind of training some of our new councils and also doing a little bit of social stuff because I don't think a single person on my staff has had time to do social stuff in about 18 months. But just to give you guys some of our case updates, we have 15 cases currently pending charges. We have had a lot in the past couple of weeks. And then we currently have 29 cases that have been charged awaiting hearings. So hopefully that gives you guys, hopefully those numbers make a little bit more sense in context of my really long speech last week. But yeah, if you guys have any, or not last week, but anyway, if you guys have any questions, please let me know.
Any questions for the undergraduate student attorney general? Seeing no questions, we'll move to our message from the honor court chair.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Not much to report on my side, other than the fact that we have virtually completed new member onboarding. We have 35 new honor court members this year, which has essentially doubled the size of the honor court, which means we'll be able to hear more cases, which is a very good thing. But yeah, that is the major updates from my side. I'll take any questions if you have any.
Any questions for the honor court chair? Seeing none, do we have a message from the honor court outreach coordinator? Okay. And the student government advisor is not present. We are now in line for the further receipt of petitions and messages. We have a statement from Valerie Musica that I will now read to y'all. My name is Valerie Musica, and I'm a junior from Tampa, Florida, double majoring in neuroscience and exercise and sports science. Coming into my second year on SAC, the Student Advisory Committee Chancellor, I look forward to continuing to build upon the achievements we made last year in areas including first-year curriculum, accessibility, and student wellness/safety. Personally, I hope to continue my push to make mental health first aid certification a requirement for all RAs. Additionally, I wish to revisit the idea of Coffee with the Chancellor, an event where a group of previously selected students are given a platform to have important conversations with Chancellor Guskowitz. This statement was submitted because Valerie Musica is unable to attend our meeting and is one of the nominees that we are voting on tonight. With that, we will now move to our 3-minute speeches. A request for such speech was submitted in advance of the meeting by Senator Pollack. Senator Pollack, you're recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I address this body to discuss and call out the anti-Semitism and blatant Jew hatred on campus in the recent weeks. Since October 7th, the Jewish festival of Simchat Torah, a day that should have meant celebrating and dancing around the world, and the day on which Hamas terrorists massacred 1,400 people in the biggest attack on Jewish life since the Holocaust, Jews on UNC's campus have felt unsafe and harassed in an unacceptable manner. Chapel Hill is full of people who are intelligent enough to know that all racism, including racism towards Jews, is unacceptable, as is physically attacking a professor for having different views. The culture of tolerance and understanding that we all strive for at UNC has not been applied towards Jewish students and professors. Hamas terrorists on October 7th murdered over 1,400 people, including dozens of Americans and over 260 people our age who were at a music festival. Hamas terrorists slaughtered and burned Jewish babies, killed Holocaust survivors, raped women, and kidnapped over 220 from the small peaceful villages near the border. These were peaceful collective farming communities, and this barbaric attack is unjustifiable. I know one of these communities. I had the kibbutz Kfar Aza in March with some other members of this body. Kfar Aza had 1/10 of its population slaughtered in their homes, and dozens were kidnapped or missing. Knowing that the children I saw playing on their bikes were murdered just for being, there are no words. But these facts are not up for debate. Hamas does not represent the Palestinian people and only hurts them. Hamas is not on the side of freedom, but on the side of Al-Qaeda and the Nazis, on the side of Jew murder. Some Jews, as an occasionally invisible minority, do have the quote unquote privilege of being able to pass in public as white or Arab. For many Jews in Europe and the few left in the Arab world, this is a requirement, but America has been a place where we don't need to hide our Jewishness, our Yiddishkeit, until this week. I've had friends and family take off their Star of David necklaces or hide their kippahs under a baseball cap. friends on this campus hiding their Jewishness out of fear of harassment or worse. Hillel needing more security than I've ever seen it in my 4 years here. I am scared that this campus will resemble those like Drexel and that this festering culture of anti-Semitism will lead to Jewish students getting physically hurt. Where is the outrage? Where is the allyship? Anyone justifying the horrors inflicted by Hamas or supporting Jew hatred towards their fellow Tar Heels should rethink their motivations and beliefs. We as elected representatives of the student body should work to call this out and fight against anti-Semitism in all of its forms. Doing anything else is cowardly. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Pollack, for that speech. There are no further requests for 3-minute speeches. We are now in line for public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to give public comment at this time? One second. Seeing no requests for public comment, we are now in line for business. You can ask your question now. All right, we are now in line for the rest of our business agenda. We are now on the special orders calendar for the selection of members of the Ethics Committee. As y'all, just as a reminder, most of the members of Ethics Committee only serve for a 6-month term. It has been 6 months since April. So it's now time to randomly select 4 members of the Ethics Committee. Can you set up the wheel or whatever? Yes. The Speaker Pro Tem is going to set up the selection wheel, and then we'll select 4 members for Ethics Committee.
Speaker, point of order. I believe it is 3 members we need to select.
Is it 3?
Yes, since Senator Brandon's replacement was previously selected in September, I believe.
All right, that's true. Okay, then yeah, it's only 3 members. Okay, so before I spend it, I'm going to answer Senator Pollack's question. It is Senators Nguyen, Kim, and I believe Manna. Those are the 3 members that are rolling off of ethics. So with that, Speaker Pro Tem, yes?
Actually, members Manna,
Oh, Kim is the vice chair, right? Never mind, Kim, you're on it for the whole year, actually. Sorry. All right, Speaker Pro Tem, spin the wheel.
Use the
There we go,
hand.
there we go. Okay, all right, so having your voting privileges suspended does not preclude you from serving on the ethics committee. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, basically. But for now, we've got our 3 members. Congratulations to those 3 senators. You are now on the ethics committee. Or,
Speaker,
yes,
a point of order. Pursuant to Rule 84 E, upon the suspension of the voting privilege of a senator accepting the ethics chair, they shall be removed from the ethics committee if they currently sit upon it.
wow, that's crazy. But per my spreadsheet, that's only Pierce, right? Okay, then we have to select one more. We'll double check all that after the meeting. Those are the names that Cal gave me.
I think,
Let's check.
didn't Jane resign? No? Okay, Jane.
Cool. We'll double check. Not,
Jane is on finance. Oh, yeah.
unless Chair McClanahan can find another point of order, we will move on to the committee of the whole. All right, we are now in line for the committee of the whole. Is there a motion to enter the committee of the whole? Is there a second? All right, we are now in committee of the whole. Does anyone wish to volunteer to preside over the committee of the whole?
I volunteered.
Do you want to? Okay.
Moving into consideration of USB 105-124, a bill to provide funds to the Mining Society. Chair Forbes, you introduced this bill, so Chair Forbes, you're recognized.
Yes, okay, so in the many hours of hearings that we held for the subsequent cycle of hearings, 2 organizations were appropriated funds mistakenly with the understanding that they had passed the treasurer's test when in reality they had not. So they were appropriated funds later in the meeting, having those funds struck because they had not passed the treasurer's test. But seeing as how the finance committee concluded the hearings of the subsequent cycle about $6,000 under budget, and in the interest of not penalizing organizations for a mistake made by the Senate, and that they have since passed the treasurer's test, I'm introducing this bill to appropriate those funds to them, just so in the interest of having this money get spent. If there are questions. Yes.
Just curiosity, what do they mine?
I move to report favorably.
Let's thank our volunteer for presiding. We are now in line for the consent calendar. Is there a motion with regards to the consent calendar?
Motion to adopt.
Yes,
If we were to move one item out of this consent calendar, is that possible?
it is not possible at this point. You'd have to, if there is an objection to adopting the consent calendar, we would have to vote on every item individually.
Well, we also, yeah, I'm gonna
All right, there is an objection to the adoption of the consent calendar. We are now entering a roll call vote on the adoption of the consent calendar. Wonderful. Speaker Pro Tem, call the vote. You can move to enter
Point
discussion.
of order, we're in a voting procedure.
No, you can move to enter discussion. We haven't started voting yet.
Yeah, I moved that under discussion.
You don't need to move. You don't need to enter discussion. You're on that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's
All right.
the whole thing.
you're recognized.
Just if
Objection is withdrawn. Motion is to adopt the consent calendar. Is there a second? Without objection, the consent calendar stands adopted. We are now in line for general orders. We have two nominations, USD 105-120. The vice president is recognized to introduce the nominee.
Hey guys, very excited to introduce Drew. He's right here. This is Drew. Drew has been nominated by this administration to serve as one of the 9 undergraduate students on the Student Advisory Committee to the Chancellor. Drew is a first year at Carolina who has been incredibly engaged with student government and student advocacy since I think literally his first day. He came to the student government open house and has remained incredibly diligent in his engagement with student government and will be a wonderful addition to our SAC team. So with that, I would love if Drew could be recognized to introduce himself and tell you all a little bit more about himself and the work he's excited to do this year.
You're recognized to introduce yourself.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. I'm Drew. I'm from Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. I am studying history and maybe environmental studies, maybe Spanish, something along the lines of that here. And I am super excited to be on SAC as I see that there are a lot of things that can be worked on that the Chancellor's office has power to do and is currently working on. I think there needs to be a lot more of a student voice in that. And I think that as a first year, I have fairly new eyes on like what is going on here and how like people coming to Carolina for the first time see it. And so I think that that is going to be very, very valuable in being able to show the Chancellor what it actually looks like from a student perspective. Thank you all.
Are there any questions? Or sorry, Chair McClanahan, you're recognized for your committee's report.
The nominee is forwarded without prejudice because they're not absent. They're absent in the meeting.
Thank you, Chair McClanahan. Are there any questions for the nominee? If not, are there any points or motions?
Motion to confirm. The nominee was supported without prejudice due to absence at the committee meeting.
At this time, does anyone wish to ask any questions of the nominee? If not, are there any points or motions?
Second.
Without objection. We are now in line for USD 105-116. The vice president is recognized.
So point of order.
Yes.
Pursuant to Rule 43, the chair should be recognized before the executive branch representative.
The chair is now recognized.
The nominee was supported without prejudice due to absence at the committee meeting.
Thank you, Chair McClanahan. Does anyone have any questions for the vice president, or are there any points or motions or request or discussion?
Second.
Was that an objection, Chair Graham? All right, there is an objection to passage by unanimous consent. We will now move to a roll call vote. Speaker Pro Tem. This is USD 6. There we go. Great.
Senator Hagan. Yay. Senator Hendricks.
The question is approving the nominee.
Oh, yeah.
Yay. Senator Henson. Yay. Senator Morinville. Here.
Yeah, not here. If they're not here, just skip it.
Senator Moore's.
Yeah, it's just a blank if they're not present.
Yes. Speaker Gary.
Abstain.
Senator Kim. Yay. Senator Stanton. Yes. Senator Forbes.
Yes.
Yay. Senator Guskowitz. Abstain. Senator Jones. Yay. Senator Vernon has resigned. Senator Alexander. Yay. Senator Grimm. Nay. Senator Mana. Yay. Senator McDermott. Abstain.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the rules be suspended such that the objector may speak very briefly in opposition to the motion.
Point of order, we're in voting procedure.
Is there a second to suspending the rules? It's in line. Is there any objection to suspending the rules to recognize Senator Grimm? There is an objection to suspending the rules. A motion to suspend the rules requires majority. Yeah, it's simple majority. We'll make this simple. If you all in favor of suspending the rules, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's a majority. All opposed? 1, 2, 3. Any abstaining? All right, motion to suspend the rules carries. Chair Graham, you're recognized.
The only reason I'm voting no on this is because we've already set the precedent that if you do not show up, you do not get confirmed. So that's just continuing the precedent. I've started an O&A and what I'm doing with that, but you know, feel free to vote how you will. So.
No, the motion was to suspend the rules to specifically recognize Chair Grimm. So we are now back into voting procedure. Pro Tem, please continue.
Senator McClanahan.
Yay.
Yay. Senator Adams.
Yay.
Yay. Senator Leonard. Yay. Senator Pollock. Yay. This
by a vote of 13 to 1 to 4, this is adopted. That is the end of our business agenda. We are now in line for notices and announcements. Just like I said at the start, next Senate meeting is State of the University. What is going to happen is we will call roll like normal. Chancellor's speech will begin at approximately 7:45 p.m. He will speak for about 30 to 40 minutes. He will then take questions, hopefully, if his communications team allows it. He will be gone by like 8:30. We'll take a photo with him and then we'll proceed with the rest of our business like a normal meeting. There'll be like a 10-minute recess or something like between the photo and us restarting. I don't have any other announcements. Are there any further announcements? Senator Hendricks. Any other notices and announcements? If there are no further notices or announcements, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? Without objection, we stand adjourned at 8:25 PM. Leave your placards where they are. I will pick them up afterwards.